The rain fell like needles that night, sharp, fast, and endless. I was running. Barefoot on the cold pavement, soaked from head to toe, heart pounding in my chest like a war drum. My breath came out in short, panicked gasps. Every shadow behind me felt like it was reaching out, trying to drag me back. And he was still chasing me. I didn't know how long I had been running. My legs were trembling. My lungs were burning. But I couldn't stop. If I stopped now, it would all be over. Emma. Stop running. Let's talk. That voice. Nathan's voice used to make me feel safe. Once, I would run toward it, not away. But not anymore. Now, that voice made my blood run cold. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I knew what I'd see, his twisted expression, soaked in rain, eyes wild with desperation. The same man who once promised to protect me now hunted me through the streets like I was prey. I turned the corner, my foot slipping on wet concrete. I almost fell, but caught myself just in time. Up ahead, I saw light, a small shop still open, glowing like a beacon through the storm. I pushed the door open and stumbled inside. The man behind the counter looked up, startled. "Miss? Are you okay?" "I need a phone," I panted. "Please. I need help." He handed me his cell phone without a word. I dialed the number I'd memorized just 2 days ago, the number Mr. Harris had given me in case of emergency. He answered on the first ring. "Emma?" "Mr. Harris," my voice cracked. "Please help me. Just 2 days earlier, everything had seemed perfect. I had received my acceptance letter to Northern Capital University, the top university in the country. My mother cried happy tears. My father hugged me tighter than ever. After years of struggling, after working endless part-time jobs and studying by candlelight, I had finally done it. Nathan had been there, too. He smiled as he held my hand and told me how proud he was. He had always said he believed in me, even when no one else did. I believed him. I believed in him. We had been together for 2 years. He was kind, caring, and supportive. When my mom was diagnosed with a rare disease, he stayed up with me at night, comforting me. When we had no money, he found ways to help. He said we were a team. But 2 days ago, everything changed. I found a letter. It was hidden in his drawer, under his socks. I wasn't trying to snoop, I was looking for a charger. But when I saw the envelope with my name on it, curiosity took over. And that's when I saw the truth. Zoe. The name jumped off the page like fire. "You have to keep her close," the letter said. "Her grades will get her into the university. She'll be worth more than money once she's there. Don't forget what you owe my family." It was written in Zoe's handwriting. Zoe, the girl who used to be Nathan's childhood sweetheart. The girl who always looked at me like I had stolen something that belonged to her. At first, I thought it was a joke. A prank. But when I confronted Nathan, he didn't deny it. "Yes," he said quietly, "it's true. But it's not what you think." "Then tell me." I shouted. "What is it, Nathan? You've been using me? Was any of it real?" He looked at me with pain in his eyes. "Emma, I do love you. But Zoe's family. I owed them everything. They helped me when I had nothing. I slapped him. Hard. I'm not your tool. I'm not your way out. I'm a person." I left that night, swearing I'd never see him again. But he wouldn't let me go. Now, as I sat in the shop shaking, waiting for Mr. Harris to arrive, I realized how deep I'd been dragged into a web I didn't even know existed. 10 minutes later, a car pulled up. Mr. Harris rushed inside, rain pouring down his shoulders. "Emma. Are you hurt?" I shook my head. "No. But he's out there." He followed me. He helped me up and led me to the car. "You're safe now." But deep down, I wasn't sure that was true. The next morning, I went to the police station with Mr. Harris and told them everything. The letter. The manipulation. The threats. At first, the officer seemed hesitant. "Do you have proof?" I handed him the letter. He read it slowly, his face growing darker with every word. "We'll look into it," he said. "In the meantime, stay somewhere safe. We'll bring him in for questioning." That night, I stayed at a guest house Mr. Harris arranged. He even brought my parents in from the countryside to be with me. For the first time in days, I slept. But peace didn't last long. The police called the next morning. "We've arrested Nathan," they said. "We found evidence linking him to Zoe's father's activities." He confessed more than we expected. I was stunned. "What kind of activities?" I asked. "Fraud. Blackmail. Illegal business deals. It's worse than we thought." Zoe had vanished. Her father, a powerful businessman, had sent her away to avoid arrest. The police were now looking for her too. Everything was falling apart. 2 days later, I went back to school to get my transcripts and papers for university. The principal was waiting for me. He stood and hugged me. "Emma, thank goodness you're okay." "I'm fine," I said politely. "Just ready to move forward." He nodded, then handed me a thick envelope. "This is from the teachers and students. For your mom's treatment. You're not alone." I opened the envelope and saw cash, more than I had ever held in my life. I looked up in shock. "Mr. Harris gave the most," the principal said. "He even gave up his house savings." I turned to Mr. Harris. He just smiled. "You have potential, Emma," he said. "Don't waste it." As I walked through the schoolyard, students turned to look at me. Some whispered. Some stared. "That's her. The one who got into Northern Capital. She's the girl from that case. The guy's going to prison. She's brave. Smart too." I kept walking, chin high. I wasn't ashamed of what had happened. I didn't ask for it. But I had survived. And I would keep going. There were 2 weeks left before university started. We made plans to travel to the capital early to get my mother treatment. Before we left, my father gave me a bundle of money. "I sold the farmland," he said. "Use this for your mom." "But we need that land," I argued. He smiled. "I still have my hands. I can work. You take care of your mother." I hugged him tightly. I didn't have words. On the night before we left, the village held a banquet for me. Everyone came. They had heard everything through the village broadcast. "You make us proud, Emma. You're stronger than most men I know. You're going to do great things." Their praise felt warm, but I stayed humble. Because I knew, this was just the beginning. 3 days later, we boarded the train. As the wheels turned and the countryside rolled past, I sat by the window, watching everything I'd ever known fade away. Just before we left, the police had called again. Nathan wasn't sentenced to death, but he was sent to hard labor in the Northwest. A place people rarely returned from. Before he left, he asked to see me one last time. I said no. I didn't want to remember him. I didn't want him in my life anymore. The police also told me Zoe had been caught. When she returned, trying to sneak into the city for revenge, someone recognized her at the station. She panicked and turned herself in. "Good luck," the officer said to me. I smiled quietly and whispered, "Thank you." The whistle blew. The train moved forward. And so did I. The capital city was nothing like my hometown. Tall buildings touched the sky. Streets buzzed with cars, people, and noise. Everywhere I looked, there was motion, rushing footsteps, flashing lights, voices speaking so fast they blurred into one. I held my mother's hand tightly as we stepped off the train. My father followed behind, carrying our bags. He looked tired but kept smiling to make us feel better. "This is it," he said, breathing in the city air. "A new beginning." We didn't know anyone here. No friends. No family. Just one goal, to get Mom treated and for me to start my new life at Northern Capital University. But new beginnings aren't always smooth. The hospital was the first stop. It was large and cold, filled with patients waiting quietly. My mother sat down, leaning against my shoulder. Her face looked pale, her hands weak in mine. We handed over the medical papers and waited as the nurse flipped through them. "You came just in time," she said. "We can start treatment tomorrow." I nodded. "How much will it cost?" She looked at the file again. "A lot. You'll need to pay a deposit first." We handed over the money from the village, every single note. It still wasn't enough. The nurse gave me a kind look. "Start with what you have. We'll do what we can." I thanked her and helped Mom back to the waiting area. That night, we stayed in a tiny rental near the hospital. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, barely enough space to move. My father laid down a mat on the floor. "I'll sleep here," he said. "You two take the bed." I tried to argue, but he smiled. "I'm used to harder things than this." I didn't sleep well. Thoughts kept me awake. Was I doing the right thing? Would we survive in this city? What if Mom didn't get better? But when I looked at her sleeping peacefully, I knew this was where we needed to be. The next morning, while my mother was in treatment, I visited the university campus. The gates were massive. The building's old and beautiful, full of history. Students walked around in uniforms, chatting, laughing, studying. I stood there, nervous and unsure. Then a girl approached me. "You look lost," she said, smiling. I'm just looking around. I got accepted here." She brightened. "That's great. I'm Lena. Second-year student. Want me to show you around?" I nodded, grateful. As we walked, she pointed out lecture halls, the library, the student center. She was cheerful and warm, exactly what I needed. "Where are you from?" she asked. "A small town down south." "Whoa, big change, huh?" I laughed. "Yeah." She paused and looked at me. "You're Emma, right? The girl from the news?" I froze. "What do you mean?" There were stories about a girl who exposed a man and still got into this university. "That was you, wasn't it?" I didn't answer, but my silence gave it away. Lena didn't seem shocked. Instead, she nodded with respect. "Takes courage. You're going to do well here." Lena helped me with registration. The principal had already sent my tuition in, just like he promised. Everything was in place. I'd be starting classes in 1 week. On the way out, I got a message from Mr. Harris. "How's your mom? Do you need anything?" I replied, "She started treatment. I'm settling in. Thank you for everything." The days passed quickly. I helped my mother during her sessions, cooked meals with my dad in the small kitchen, and prepared for school. But one afternoon, something strange happened. A man showed up at the hospital, asking about my mom. He wore a suit and dark sunglasses. Too formal. Too clean. The nurse said he claimed to be a distant relative. But we didn't have any. My father and I rushed down, but he was gone. We checked the records. He had asked for her name, diagnosis, and room number. That was it. "Do you think it's someone from Nathan's side?" I whispered. My dad frowned. "Maybe. Or someone else." We told the hospital to increase security around her room. I couldn't risk losing her now. The next day, I received a call from the police. "Emma, there's something you need to know," the officer said. Nathan's labor transport was delayed. He tried to escape during a stop. My heart dropped. Did he get away? No. But he's injured. He broke his leg trying to jump from the transport truck. I didn't know how to feel. Pity? Fear? Anger? The officer continued, he's in a secure medical facility. Don't worry, he won't be able to contact you. We're just keeping you updated. I thanked him, then sat in silence for a long time. Why did he still haunt me like this? Even now, after everything? The first day of university finally arrived. I wore a simple shirt and jeans, tying my hair back, trying to look normal. But as I walked through the hallways, I felt eyes on me. Some curious. Some judging. Some admiring. Lena found me near the library. Ready? Not really, I admitted. She smiled. You'll be fine. We went to our first class together, literature. The professor was kind but strict. He gave us our syllabus and assignments. I took careful notes, eager to prove myself. After class, a tall boy approached me. You're Emma, right? Yes? I'm Daniel. I heard about what happened. Just wanted to say, you're brave. I blinked. Thanks. I guess. He chuckled. Don't worry. I'm not here to bother you. Just wanted you to know some of us are rooting for you. He walked away, leaving me confused but oddly comforted. That evening, I returned to the hospital to find my mother smiling. The doctor said I'm responding well to treatment. I hugged her tightly, feeling tears in my eyes. That's amazing. For the first time in weeks, it felt like we were winning. But the peace didn't last. One night, I returned to our rental and found the door slightly open. I panicked. Dad? I called out. He stepped out from the kitchen. Someone tried to break in, he said calmly. I scared them off. Did you see who it was? He shook his head. But they didn't take anything. Just ran. We filed a report with the local police. Could be just a thief, they said. Or maybe someone from your past. I didn't sleep that night. I sat near the door, listening for every sound. This city held both new hope and old shadows. At school, I kept pushing forward. Studying hard. Keeping to myself. But word about me spread fast. Some students respected me. Others whispered behind my back. She only got in because of sympathy. Isn't she the one from the scandal? She's just looking for attention. I ignored them. Until one day, I found a note in my locker. You should have disappeared like you were supposed to. No name. No handwriting I recognized. I froze, holding the note with shaking hands. Was it Zoe? Had she gotten out already? Or was someone else behind this? That night, I stood by my mother's bedside and watched her sleep. I won't let them hurt us again, I whispered. No matter what it takes. The train had brought me here for a better future. But it seemed like the past had followed me. And it wasn't done with me yet. The next morning, I tucked the threatening note into my backpack and walked to class like nothing happened. I didn't want to worry my parents. My mother needed rest, not stress. My father already had enough on his plate. He'd found a job repairing furniture at a local workshop. The hours were long, but he never complained. Just focus on your studies, he told me every morning. We'll handle the rest. But how could I focus when someone out there wanted me gone? At school, I kept an eye out for anything strange. Lena noticed. You seem tense lately, she said as we walked to the dining hall. Is everything okay? I forced a smile. Just homesick. She looked at me, unconvinced. If anyone gives you trouble, tell me. I know people. I laughed softly. Thanks. I'll be fine. But I wasn't fine. In the following days, more strange things happened. My textbooks went missing from my locker. A bottle of spoiled milk exploded in my desk drawer. And one morning, someone had scratched the word liar onto the front of my dorm room door. The university promised to investigate, but there were no cameras in the hallway. No witnesses. No proof. The stress began affecting me. I started losing sleep, and my grades slipped. One professor even called me out in class. "You're smart, Emma," he said. "But you're not focusing. Is something wrong?" I wanted to scream yes. But instead, I apologized and promised to catch up. After class, Daniel walked over. "You're falling behind," he said gently. "Not like you." I looked down. "It's just life stuff." He nodded. "Well, I'm offering. If you ever want a study partner, I'm around." It was a small thing. But in that moment, it meant the world to me. Meanwhile, my mother's condition slowly improved. She smiled more, walked longer distances, and even insisted on cooking a meal one night at the rental apartment. "You need to eat better," she said, stirring a pot of soup. I hugged her tightly. "You're getting stronger." "I have to," she whispered. "I have to see your future." My father came home later, covered in sawdust, and grinned when he smelled the soup. For one evening, it felt like we were a normal family again. But peace never stayed long. 2 days later, I received a letter with no return address. Inside was a photo of me walking with Daniel on campus. On the back, someone had written, "You replaced him fast." I dropped the photo in shock. Who was watching me? Who was following me this closely? I rushed to the police station with the photo and the previous note. The officer in charge frowned. "We'll look into it. Could be harassment. Could be someone from your past." My voice trembled. "Could it be Zoe?" The officer gave a slow nod. "She was released from questioning last week. Not enough evidence to hold her. But her father is still under investigation." I felt sick. She was out. And she knew where I was. That evening, I couldn't hide it anymore. I told my father everything, about the notes, the photo, and Zoe's release. His face went hard. I should have known she wouldn't give up so easily. "I didn't want to worry you," I said quietly. "You are my daughter. Worrying about you is my job." That night, he installed new locks on the door and placed a wooden beam across the inside. He even started walking me to school when he could. Still, I felt unsafe. I kept looking over my shoulder, expecting to see Zoe's face in every crowd. One night, while walking home from the hospital, I heard footsteps behind me. Quick. Light. Too close. I turned sharply. A figure ducked into an alley. My heart raced. I ran the rest of the way home and locked the door behind me. Enough was enough. I needed answers. I reached out to Mr. Harris. He answered quickly. "Emma? What's wrong?" I told him everything. The threats. The break-in. The letters. He was silent for a moment. "I think it's time you knew the full story," he said. "What do you mean?" "There are things about Zoe and Nathan you never knew. Things that go deeper than just school or jealousy." My hands tightened around the phone. "Tell me." Mr. Harris explained that Zoe's father wasn't just a businessman. He had ties to shady political figures and was suspected of laundering money through school donations and scholarships. Nathan's family owed a lot to Zoe's father. Years ago, when Nathan's family almost lost everything, Zoe's father paid off their debts, on one condition. Nathan had to follow orders, including keeping an eye on Zoe and doing whatever she asked. She used Nathan like a tool, Mr. Harris said. But he was too weak to break free. And I was just collateral damage, I whispered. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I should have warned you earlier." The next day, while walking through campus, I spotted someone familiar across the courtyard. Zoe. Wearing sunglasses. Standing still. Watching me. Our eyes locked for a second. Then she turned and disappeared into the crowd. I stood frozen. She was really back. That evening, I gathered my courage and walked to Daniel's dorm. I knocked. He opened the door, surprised. "Emma?" "I need help," I said. He stepped aside and let me in. I told him everything, from the hospital to the threats to Zoe showing up. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "This is serious. You can't deal with this alone. I don't want anyone else hurt." He gave me a firm look. "That's not your decision to make. We'll figure this out together." The next day, he and Lena sat with me at lunch, both acting casual but alert. "Let her try something," Lena muttered. "She'll regret it." I smiled, but it didn't quite reach my eyes. We were forming a quiet team, me, Lena, Daniel, and the officer keeping an eye on the situation. It felt like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't alone anymore. That evening, the police called. They had Zoe. She was caught trying to bribe a hospital staff member to access your mother's records, the officer explained. "We have her on camera this time." My hand shook. "What will happen to her?" "She'll be charged. It won't be a long sentence, but it's enough. And with her father still in court, she's finished." I sat down in silence. It was finally over. The next morning, I returned to school with clearer eyes. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel afraid. I answered questions in class, smiled at Lena, and accepted Daniel's offer to join a study group. At lunch, students talked about exams and internships, not about me. The whispers had started to fade. One girl even approached me with a smile. "Hey, I read about your story. You're amazing. I hope we can be friends." I blinked. "Sure." Later that week, the hospital called. My mother was officially in remission. I rushed there, hugged her, and cried. "We made it," I whispered. She stroked my hair gently. "You're stronger than you think, Emma." That night, as I watched the city lights from our tiny apartment, I let out a long breath. I wasn't the girl who had arrived on that train weeks ago, scared and unsure. I was someone who had survived. Who had fought back. Who was ready for whatever came next. The darkness hadn't won. And it never would again. For the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. Zoe was in custody. Her father's trial was making national headlines. And my mother was recovering better than any doctor had expected. Everything felt calm. Too calm. School returned to normal. I caught up with my classes, joined a literature club, and even took on a small job in the campus library to earn extra money. Every day, I grew more confident. "Emma," my professor said one day, "I see leadership in you." Leadership. I liked the sound of that. Lena clapped me on the back after class. "You're glowing. Got a secret admirer?" I laughed. "Just good news for once." Daniel smiled from across the hall. "Good news suits you." Everything was falling into place. But peace has a way of making you drop your guard. One night, as I was closing up at the library, my phone buzzed. It was a private number. I hesitated, then answered. A low voice spoke. Familiar. Unmistakable. "Did you really think this was over?" My blood ran cold. "Nathan?" I whispered. "I've been watching," he said. "You're smiling again. That's cute." "You're supposed to be in the labor camp," I said, trying to stay calm. I escaped. The line went dead. I stood frozen in the dark library, phone trembling in my hand. The police confirmed it the next morning. Nathan had disappeared during a transport shift. A guard had been bribed. No one had seen him since. "We suspect he might be trying to leave the country," the officer told me. "But we're increasing your protection just in case." How could this happen? I asked, heart pounding. He's desperate. Dangerous. But don't worry, we'll catch him. But I was already worrying. I wasn't afraid of Nathan showing up at my school. I was afraid of what he might do to my family. I rushed to the apartment and found my father already reinforcing the doors. They called me, he said. We'll stay alert. My mother sat silently, holding her prayer beads. Her hands trembled slightly, but she nodded when she saw me. We've faced worse, she said softly. We'll get through this too. That night, I barely slept. Every creak, every gust of wind outside made my heart race. Was he watching us? Was he near? At school, I didn't tell Lena or Daniel at first. I didn't want them to panic. But that afternoon, Lena cornered me. You've been quiet. Again. I bit my lip. Nathan escaped. Her face hardened. You're kidding. I wish I were. Lena looked ready to go to war. Daniel, when he found out, went straight to the police with me. We'll stay close, he said. He won't get near you. 4 days, nothing happened. Until one morning, I found a flower on my desk in class. A red camellia. My mother's favorite flower. Pinned to it was a note, still remember what you told me on the roof? My chest tightened. I knew exactly what he meant. Back when Nathan had cornered me on the rooftop, before everything unraveled, I had screamed at him, "You'll regret everything you've done." Now, he was answering that. I filed the note with the police. They increased patrols around campus. I was offered temporary housing in a secure dorm building. Daniel insisted on walking me everywhere. Even with that, I was scared. Nathan wasn't someone who made empty threats. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. A full week passed. No signs. No messages. Nothing. Maybe he'd moved on. Maybe he'd really left the country. I started to breathe again. Until the explosion. It happened at a small medical clinic on the edge of the city. One of the doctors there was a friend of my mother's. She had been helping us with follow-up treatment. The blast destroyed half the building. 2 people were injured. One was critical. There were no deaths, but investigators quickly found signs of arson. And in the ashes, near the back door, they found something else. A burned photograph. Of me. This time, the police didn't take chances. They moved my family into a safe house under a false name. I stayed with Lena for a few days until things cooled down. I don't get it, she said one night, pacing the room. He was caught. He confessed. Why is he still obsessed? Because I was the one who walked away, I whispered. I was the one who exposed him. I broke him. Lena sat beside me and grabbed my hand. He's not strong. You are. That's why he hates you. Meanwhile, the national news was following Zoe and her father's trials. Zoe had received a short sentence for fraud and interference in justice. She'd been transferred to a women's detention center. Her father wasn't so lucky. The court had traced millions of stolen money to offshore accounts. His empire was falling apart. One article said he had collapsed in court and was rushed to the hospital. I wasn't sure how to feel. Was it justice? Was it enough? Days later, the police made a breakthrough. Nathan had been spotted in a small coastal town, using a fake ID. He'd been trying to bribe someone for passage on a boat heading south. But something spooked him, and he ran again. The officer told me, he's getting sloppy. We'll catch him soon. But soon wasn't soon enough. Because the next morning, I found another envelope on my dorm bed. This one had no note. Just a necklace. My necklace. The one I had lost a year ago, the one Nathan had once given me. My hand shook as I held it. My breath caught in my throat. He had been here. In this room. That was the last straw. I walked into the principal's office and demanded to speak to the university's security head. I'm not just some student anymore, I told him. This is life or death. You need to start treating it that way. To my surprise, he agreed. Extra guards were stationed at every dorm entrance. Staff were given Nathan's photo. Campus entry rules were tightened. But deep down, I knew, if Nathan wanted to find me, he would. Then, one night, I got a call from Mr. Harris. I need you to listen carefully, he said. Don't go home. Don't go to the hospital. Why? What happened? They found Nathan, he said. But not the way we expected. I held my breath. He was injured. Badly. Someone beat him up and dumped him near a train station. He's in custody now, but unconscious. The doctors aren't sure if he'll make it. I was stunned. Who did it? We don't know. But it wasn't us. Someone else got to him first. The police later revealed that Nathan had been hiding in an abandoned warehouse near the city docks. He'd been living off scraps, losing weight, becoming unstable. The night he was found, someone had tipped off the police with his exact location. They got there too late to catch the attacker, but just in time to save Nathan's life. Barely. I couldn't explain the mix of emotions inside me. Relief. Fear. Sadness. Even guilt. He had been my nightmare for so long. But now, seeing him broken and silent in a hospital bed through the news footage, he just looked like a scared, lost boy. A boy who had been used by the wrong people and turned into a monster. But still, a boy I once knew. The trial came quickly once he woke up. The court sentenced him to 25 years of hard labor without parole. No more escapes. No more threats. It was truly over this time. Back at university, I finally started rebuilding again. The shadows still lingered in my mind, but I didn't let them control me. I aced my midterms. Lena and I planned a weekend trip to the mountains. Daniel invited me to a music night in the city. I think, he said, smiling softly, you're ready to be happy again. I looked at him, eyes filled with tears I hadn't let fall for weeks. Maybe I am. And that night, as I stood on the rooftop, looking out at the stars, I realized, the past could haunt me, but it couldn't define me. I had survived. I had fought back. And now, it was time to live. The days after Nathan's trial felt like a dream. Not the kind of dream I had ever wanted, more like a fog that slowly cleared, revealing the world as it had always been, only sharper. More vivid. More real. I spent the next few weeks adjusting to life as it was. I returned to my classes with a focus I hadn't had before. The ache in my chest was still there, but it wasn't as heavy. My mother's health continued to improve, and we slowly rebuilt our lives. The scars of the past were still visible, but they weren't as painful. At school, the students who had once whispered about me now gave me the space to breathe. I wasn't the girl who had been through a nightmare anymore. I was Emma, the student who had survived and now thrived. Lena, always the loyal friend, made sure I stayed grounded. You've got this, she'd say, slinging her arm around my shoulder whenever she saw me stressing over an exam or a class project. This is your time, Emma. Don't let anyone or anything make you forget that. Daniel, too, had been a constant support. I caught him watching me sometimes with a look in his eyes that made my heart race. But he never pushed. He let me be. And I let myself be with him. Not as someone broken or hunted, but as someone ready to open her heart again. But one evening, as I was heading back to the dorm after a long day of classes, I received a message. From unknown, are you really done with the past? It was short, cryptic, and instantly unsettling. My fingers trembled as I read it again, scanning the number for any clue. It was a private number. My heart beat faster. I had been trying to forget. I had been trying to let go. So why was it that this message made me feel as if I were being dragged back into the shadows? I didn't respond. Instead, I dialed Daniel's number. It rang once, twice, then he picked up. Emma? Is everything okay? I need you to meet me, I said, my voice firm, but a little shaky. Tonight. He agreed without hesitation. Within an hour, we met at a quiet cafe near campus, the one where we had first talked about our shared dreams. Talk to me, he said, settling into the seat across from me. What's going on? I handed him my phone and showed him the message. His brows furrowed as he read it. This doesn't feel like Nathan, does it? He said slowly. No, I whispered. It doesn't. Daniel looked thoughtful. It could be someone else who wants to mess with you. Someone who knows your past. Someone who knows what happened with Nathan. I felt a shiver run down my spine. But why now? Why after all this time? He didn't have an answer, but I could see the determination in his eyes. I'm not letting anyone hurt you. Not anymore. We'll figure this out. The next few days were a blur of nerves and investigation. Daniel helped me report the message to the authorities, but there was little they could do without a clearer lead. They suggested I stay alert and take extra precautions, but I could sense they were running out of options. Still, the message had lingered in my mind. Who would want to come after me now? 2 weeks passed, and the message faded into the background, almost forgotten. My life returned to a semblance of normalcy. I focused on my studies, my mother's recovery, and my own future. But then came the call. It was a cold Sunday morning when the phone rang. I had been in the kitchen, making tea for my mother. My father was outside, working on a small project in the yard. The sun filtered in through the windows, casting a golden glow on everything. It was one of those peaceful mornings that made me feel like the world was finally on my side. Then the phone rang, breaking the silence. I answered, expecting a telemarketer or a wrong number. But the voice on the other end sent chills through my entire body. Emma, it's Zoe. For a moment, I couldn't speak. I just stood there, holding the phone to my ear, the air suddenly thick with tension. Zoe's voice was distant, but I could hear the nervousness in her tone. I know this is the last thing you want to hear from me, but please, just listen. I set the phone down on the table for a moment, trying to process what I was hearing. Zoe, the girl who had once been my enemy, the one who had tried to destroy my life, was calling me? Why should I listen to you? I finally said, my voice low. You've done enough. Emma, please. This isn't about me anymore, Zoe pleaded. It's about Nathan. He's back. My heart stopped. Back? What do you mean, back? I asked, my voice trembling. I don't know how he did it, Zoe continued, but he's back. And he's not alone. He has people. People who are going to make things worse for all of us. Please, Emma. I'm warning you. Why should I believe you? After everything you did? Because I'm scared too, Zoe replied. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask for Nathan to turn into what he is. But I know now, more than ever, that he's dangerous. And I know the only way we'll survive is if we stick together. I didn't know what to think. Part of me wanted to slam the phone down and never hear from her again. But another part of me, the part that had been burned by the past, knew that if Nathan was back, I couldn't face him alone. Fine, I said. We'll meet. But this better not be a trick. Zoe agreed to meet me at a public cafe, somewhere neutral, where no one could easily get to us. I went to the cafe, with Daniel by my side. He wasn't happy about it, but he knew there was no talking me out of it. Zoe was already there when we arrived. She looked different, tired, stressed. But she wasn't the same smug, self-assured person I had once known. Her eyes were wide, and her hands shook as she played with the cup in front of her. I didn't think you'd come, she said quietly. Let's just get this over with, I said, sitting down across from her. She took a deep breath. Nathan, he's not the same anymore. He's worse. He's violent, and he's desperate. He's been contacting people who owe him favors from the past. He's planning something. What does that have to do with me? I asked, my voice cold. Why are you here? I'm telling you because I need your help. We need to stop him before he ruins everything. Zoe's voice cracked. We need to stop him before he destroys us all. The weight of her words sank into me. Nathan was back, and this time, he wasn't alone. The shadows that had haunted me were creeping in once more. But this time I wasn't running. This time I was ready to fight. The decision to trust Zoe wasn't easy, but it was the only choice I had left. Together, we began to gather the pieces of a plan to stop Nathan for good. I wasn't the girl who cowered anymore. I was a woman determined to protect the life I had fought for. And if Nathan thought he could tear it all down, he had another thing coming. Days passed. We worked in secret, gathering evidence, speaking to those who might know something about Nathan's plans. Finally, everything fell into place. The police were tipped off. Nathan's supporters were caught. His plans, his network, everything he had built, was shattered. Nathan was caught again, this time without escape. That evening, as I stood in front of the courthouse, watching him being led away in handcuffs, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. And for the first time in years, I could breathe easy. The next morning, I walked into the university campus, a weight lifted from my shoulders. The sun was shining, and everything seemed so much brighter. Are you okay? Daniel asked, walking beside me. I smiled, the first real smile in a long time. I am. And for the first time, I felt like I was truly free. As I looked ahead, the future stretched out before me, uncertain, but filled with possibilities. I had survived. I had fought. And now, I could finally begin to live.